You guys can, if you want to mute yourselves for a minute until I'm perfect. I love it. Now we go live. Just when I take a sip of water. So hi, for those of you who are watching us. Let me say, first of all, hi, Luke, Ruby, and Steve, who I'm going to work with and play with. But let me say hi to everyone else who's joining us on the call today. You'll have to bear with me. I've just come back from a trip to Toronto. I live in LA, which is great because we don't get much of a winter, so I get to have a lot of sunshine in my life. But I've just been in Toronto where there was snow, and on the aeroplane there or back, I caught a cold. So I'm trying to shake that off in this moment. But my intention today is a couple of elements to my intention. My intention is to play and coach and go deep and have fun with the three of you who've said yes to being my guests, and we'll see where we go. My intention is to have some fun. I was just telling these guys that this is the last thing on my to-do list other than wrapping the Christmas gifts that I haven't yet bought, if you can find your way through that one. So I want to have some fun with us today and do some coaching and look for some distinctions and ideas and see what concepts can shake up our lives and our world and play. So let me give a bit of background for those of you who don't know me. I mean, I'm presuming you've got a clue who I am, otherwise you wouldn't be here. But I never know these days. Sometimes someone says to a friend, hey, jump on, come and learn from this guy. So this guy is British originally. I've lived in lots of different countries over the years, but for the last 10 years, I've lived in the United States, San Francisco for 2.5 years, and then I guess 7.5 years in LA. And I go back to England once or twice a year to see family, but this is my home these days. And I'm what I've realized now, I'm an accidental entrepreneur. I was a high school teacher for 15 years, and that was my career and my career path. I was heading off to be a head teacher, and if my life hadn't gone in a different direction, for reasons out of my control, I would probably be a relatively not unhappy head teacher, but unsatisfied maybe head teacher. Because there wasn't much further to go in my career path. I was almost at the top of the career path in the education world. But life had different things in plan for me, different plans for me. And I sometimes think we get too attached to our goals and our dreams. Sometimes it's the goals and the dreams that don't happen that we can look back years later and go, you know what, I'm so grateful for that. And I'm very grateful. If I hadn't lost my job as a teacher back in 2005, I wouldn't have ended up on a beach in Thailand coaching people. I wouldn't have come to the States to do a workshop. I wouldn't have met my wife. We've been married 10 years this year, but I proposed to her 10 days after I met her. I wouldn't have made coaching my career. And I wouldn't have butted up with my friend Steve Chandler, written a book that seems to have done very well out in the world. We've sold 40,000 copies, just over that as of now. And the book still sells 1,000 copies a month. And it dawns on me that we've never done anything to market it. I mean, we have a tiny email list, each of us, and we have a small Facebook group, each of us. And I wonder what would have happened if we'd marketed it. And I was telling a friend who's a very successful entrepreneur a couple of days ago, I said, you know what, because I'm an accidental entrepreneur, no one ever told me you're supposed to write a business plan. And so I never did. I've had a business plan for over a decade, which has been one line: meet fun and interesting people. And every time I do that, my business takes off. And every time I veer away from that side of the business plan, my business slows down. And he laughed and said, oh my God, imagine what would have happened if you had followed the business plan. And who knows where I would be, but I don't think I'd have had the kind of fun, the success, and the enjoyment I've had if I'd had that business plan. And so that's the segue into this session today. I love this idea of having a counterintuitive way to end the year, to start the new year. So here's what I'd love to do today. I'd love to coach Steve and Ruby and Luke with their permission, and I'll talk to you guys in a second. I'd like to coach you guys and see where we go. I have no intention for where we have to get to. We'll find out where we get to. And I want to coach you, perhaps draw out some distinctions from each of you for how you see your world, or maybe help to create some new distinctions between us for how to create a powerful new year. But at the same time, what I'd love to do is to I have a context. Whenever I start my day, I use a word that's my context for the day. And the word for today is leadership. It's my context for this call. It's the context for the conversation. It's actually my context for the next 2 years. I made a decision a few weeks ago. And so we'll see how that plays out today. But what I'd also like to do at some point, we'll see where it fits in. I haven't got a plan to do this at a particular time, but I'd love to share for those of you who are joining us in April for our intensive, some of what we were talking about. And for those of you who aren't yet joining us, I want to tell you a bit about it and why leadership's important to us and what it can do for us as coaches. So I'll find out where that fits into our journey today. And here's my first distinction of the day. Intensity, immersion, and mastery. Intensity. So intense learning experiences are those ones that happen fast. You get a new distinction and suddenly your world shifts. You read a book, you go to an event, you spend time in conversation with somebody. That's an intense experience. It usually happens fast, but a single insight can have a massive shift. Then there's immersion. Immersion is when you go deeper. It might be over time. Maybe you've hired a coach. Maybe you're doing a program. Maybe you're just immersing yourself in a new concept or an idea for a year. I think that's much more valuable actually than what do they call it, New Year's resolution, taking a word or a theme for the year and immersing yourself in it. So there's intensity and there's immersion, and then there's mastery. And mastery is when you get, this whole thing is made up. This whole thing is a game. That the only way you win this game is by playing full out over your entire life. And it's that moment when you're lying in your deathbed looking back, you get to know, did I play full out or not? And that's mastery. So that's the context for all of us today. So hi, Steve. Hi, Ruby. Hi, Luke. Thank you for joining me. You guys can unmute because we'll play in this moment.
Hey, Rich. Good to be here.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I'm glad you guys said yes to joining me. My invitation is, if you're open to it, to be as willing to be as open and authentic and as vulnerable as you dare. You get to know where to put the dial on that. But let's put out of our minds that anyone's with us, and it's just the four of us in this moment. There may be sometimes when I talk to the people who are listening and watching, but for you guys, if we can play, that will allow us to go really deep. Cool. Well, thank you. Steve, let me say hi to you first.
Hey, Rich. Hi.
Hey. So you're a man, I've been watching your journey, because since you came to our intensive in September in London, you've been posting in our private Facebook group this video journey that you've been on, or video of your journey ever since you went to the intensive. Give me an update. Like, where are you in this moment? What's going on?
Yeah, I've been, I started out, I came to the intensive on a kind of short notice. I was turned on to it and then decided, okay, I'm just going to go. I have a bunch of miles. I'm going to get on a plane and I'm going to go see what this is about. Because I had started my coaching practice kind of dabbling, putting my feet in the water, toes in the water earlier in this year. And then
because you're really a serial entrepreneur by background, right?
Yeah. Yes. And I wasn't quite sure where coaching fit in, but I was enjoying it. And I felt like I was being of value to other people, but I also felt like I hadn't embraced it fully and was keeping it a little bit at a distance. So I challenged myself to say, okay, let's really do this. Immerse, as you just said. And this seemed like a really great opportunity to immerse. And I've been on intense kind of workshops in the past, or in just kind of really intense concentrations of people. And one of the things that I've noticed is that there's so much energy that comes out of that. Beyond what you call the possibility and vulnerability hangovers, is all this like connections that you had and that energy you had with the people. And I thought it would be interesting just to start noticing that and then documenting it in the group, just so I could stay in touch with it. And it started out as just writing it out in text and kind of saying, oh, my network's grown and here's what's happened to me. And there were some really, really important insights that came out of the intensive for me. This notion of changing my personal gravity from one kind of anchored in scarcity to one more in abundance. And that was kind of my deeper work. But then I started getting curious, as I started getting further out, like, well, what's going on with everybody else? Like all the people that I had connections with. So I started reaching out to people and I said, well, And I didn't have any agenda in it. I just said, well, would you be willing to have a conversation, and we just record it, and then maybe it'll be interesting to other people in the group, and we can all kind of benefit in some way. And so it's just been that journey of staying, I guess for me, it's really that exercise of staying connected and trying to keep some of that immersion going even long after the event has ended.
It reminds me of my one-line business plan: meet fun and interesting people, and then stay connected with them. And yeah, so I love that. I want to hear more, but now's not the time.
Sure.
So, but what I'll ask you to do, as I talk to the others for a moment, I just want to connect with each of you, is to go a year into the future. I want you guys to imagine that it's 2018. We've jumped on a call now, in a year's time, and each of you's got on and said, in your own way, but in my words, it might be, holy shit, Rich. And you've said, wow, like I've just had the most amazing year ever. And I can trace it back to that conversation we had, because I had an insight or a shift or something that was different as a result of that conversation a year ago. And let me tell you how amazing my life is personally, professionally. So that's the question I'd like to sit with. You can write a note or two, Steve, but have a think about that as I just connect for a second with each of the others. But it's the holy shit, Rich question that I love to ask. So hi, Ruby.
Hey, Rich.
Hey. So we met in LA at someone else's workshop, because both of us are people who love to learn. And then fast forward a few months, you flew all the way from here out to London to join us at the intensive, at our intensive. And now we're here in conversation.
Yes.
What has you been here in this moment? Why are you here?
Yeah. Why am I here?
Yeah.
Well, number one, I'm always down to go a little deeper with myself, especially right now with where I'm at with my business. I am just craving to continue diving deeper and deeper. And so that's, the number one reason why I'm here. Number two is it's always a pleasure and an honor to be in your presence.
Thank you. Cool. Well, I love to go deep. There was a great conversation in our private Facebook group recently. Somebody asked about, why do coaches always feel they have to go deep? And I think part of that is me. I can't help it. I love the deep, intimate conversations, but I also love a sense of fun too. So we can play and we'll see how deep we go in this conversation. But yeah, I like to play that way. So we'll find out.
Me too.
Cool. Thanks, Ruby. So hi, Luke. We met pretty recently, right? Only a couple of months ago here in LA at the EverCoach Summit.
Yep.
And we had a great little experience one day, and we've stayed connected. So what had you say yes to coming on the call?
Well, like Ruby, I think it's always great to talk to you. And at the same time, I don't know what's going to happen. And that kind of excites me because it's more about just staying in the room and putting yourself in that room. And of course, the last few days I've been kind of like, you let your mind wander, but at the same time, that it is part of the experience that kind of primes you for a deeper experience. So kind of the unknown, I think, is what really kind of drew me in.
Nice. I like that. I mean, this is why I feel a little bit guilty, because I put some bullet points about what we'd cover in this call today. And the thing is, in this moment, I want to get present with each of you. I'm not one of these people who wants to teach to a list or to a script. I want to be present to see what distinctions inform your life and create your life, knowing full well that everyone who's watching will get their value, because as we're listening to your stories, we're hearing it through the frame of our own experience. So what I hear from what you've said already is this idea of the not knowing.
Yeah.
The way I put it is that I have a compass that directs me in my decisions in life. And it is in the not knowing, but the way I describe it is there's this fine line with excitement on one side and fear on the other. And there's a line down the middle, like too much fear and I can't move, I'm frozen. Too much excitement and I'm not grounded. But it's the not knowing in the middle. That's the path I have to keep following.
Yeah. And to me, that was the invitation to be in that space.
Yeah.
Even though you did send out a couple bullet points, I was like, well, I could go this way and answer them, or I could go this way and answer them. And even that was vague enough.
Yeah.
That was intriguing.
Cool. So everyone who's listening, I gave, we sent some tools out. I'm just looking, I've got some notes in front of me. So if you see me looking like this, we sent some tools out. I think it's richlitvin.com/review. Danielle on my team or Sarah will post the link in a moment. But yeah, I think it's going now. But there's some really powerful questions to review your year. And I try and do questions like this every 90 days rather than for a whole year. But they're very powerful questions. There's even a set of newer questions I've started doing this year. I read in two books, Tim Ferriss's book recently, and also the 80-20 rule, this idea about doing an 80-20 analysis of your life, because it struck home with me, because another one of the ground rules I use for my life is hell yes or hell no. So no is one of the most powerful words I found as a leader and as a coach, learning when to say no. You see, the problem is in life, saying yes to almost every opportunity has got me to where I am today. But where I want to go to next, I'm learning to say no to almost every opportunity and filter for the ones that I really want to say yes to. So let's play. Steve, I asked you first, what would make this an amazing conversation for you? If you had a conversation in a year's time, what would you be telling me? What would make your life, your business amazing?
Well, I mean, the framing was, we're sitting here a year from now, we're having the same conversation, and we're looking back, and I'm saying, holy shit, Rich, you wouldn't believe what happened in 2018. And there's a couple businesses that I'm starting and that are going to, really take off. And I'm not actually worried about those. I think the thing for me, and it was just something that I was talking with one of my coaching clients with, the challenge for me is internal. And in terms of, this coaching client and myself had reached this sort of impasse where we were sort of treading water, and we explored it today, and we figured out that we're both people that hold other people at a distance. And I think what we hit was like, we've come to this point where at some point we're going to have to let each other in. And that's a really hard thing. And I think 80% of my life is holding people at a distance, maybe more. So if I can figure out, how to trust and kind of, get away from maybe not get away, but operate less under the people pleasing, Steve mode, and more into the just being present Steve mode. I think the repercussions from that would be huge.
Cool. Well, let's find out. It's 2018, let's say it's December 2018, same day, exactly a year's time. You said, holy shit, Rich, I did it. I stopped holding others at a distance. And I said to you, Steve, do you remember a year ago, you said you thought the repercussions would be huge. What were they?
I feel like I would have friends, like actual deep friends. Right now I have people that I like in my life. But that true, level of friendship, that I think I'm in a sense denying myself a little bit by holding people at a distance. And I'll have done other things in terms of opening up and giving to other people. And things will come from that. And I can't quite imagine what they are a year out, but I just feel like there's some impact that I'll create. And it doesn't have to be huge with a lot of people, but just with the people that it does impact, that it's meaningful and important to them. And I'll have created, shaped my life so that, like, one of the things that the questions did prompt me on was this idea that my digital life is on one level where my business life it's the network for my business life, but it's not entirely positive presence in my life for the rest of my life. Right. So.
Yeah. You, me, and Luke, I read you guys, what you wrote for the 80-20 review, and all three of us have something around where digital is really valuable for us, for our business, but it also drains us because it sucks us in. And so, we might touch on that before the end of the day.
Yeah.
Cool.
And I spent a lot of the year outside.
Nice. So let's do this for a second. I'm going to give you a little thought exercise where I come to the others. One of my very favorite coaching tools is called the perfect system. Have you heard me talk about it before, Steve? I don't know if you have.
I don't think I have, no.
Right. So the perfect system, you meet a client and they're telling you about, like, I know this behavior of mine is causing me this strife, these problems. And they're like, well, help me. Like, I know I need especially if you work with coaches, they know already, like, I need to reframe. I need to do it differently. I need a shift. And I say, no. What we need to do is have you love that aspect of your character. You've got to see how you're a genius at that. So I got the insight for this tool came, I'm sitting on an airplane flying to see my coach about 6-7 years ago. And I had this insight. I struggle with money no matter how much I earn. And it just dawned on me, like, this is crazy. I'm making more money than I've ever made before, and I'm still struggling around money. So I created this thing. I mapped it out on an airplane called Rich's Perfect System for struggling around money, no matter how much you earn. And I mapped it out. I did this kind of mind map of like, look, if I was going to teach you to do that, I'm a master at this. And I mapped it out. And I can share the document somewhere. It's in our Facebook group for the Prosperous Coach. But I'm a genius at it. I can teach anybody. And then over the years, I've taught this to clients. That this is let's find your perfect system. Steve, you must be a master at holding others at a distance. And so Steve's perfect system for holding others at a distance. I did this with a woman once who we created for her perfect system for dating emotionally unavailable men. And the cool thing about this tool is that it gives you a sense of humor about this thing you're in resistance to. And it also helps you realize that there are benefits of it. Look, because I'm someone who also pretty good at holding others at a distance. I know some of the gifts in it. Like, I know when I was dating, at least, that ability to be a little bit distant made me really attractive to women. So there are benefits in here for you that even though and it didn't work for me, by the way, like it ended up, relationship didn't work because of it, but initially it had a benefit. So let's have a look at, how do you do this thing, Steve? How are you a master? In a minute, I'm going to ask you to teach us. Teach us to hold people at a distance. And then where are the benefits for you?
Great.
I'll come back to you.
Okay.
All right, cool. Hi, Ruby.
Hey, Rich.
So let's play Holy Shit, Rich. It's December 2018, most amazing year ever.
Well, holy shit, Rich. It's December 31st, 2018. This has been the most incredible year of my life. I have finally conquered my glass ceiling that continues to drop on my head and have found a real momentum in pushing through and moving forward with all of my dreams. I've created the space that I've been craving while maintaining and building upon the creation that I am sharing. And it feels really good.
It sounds like you're feeling moved already in this moment.
Mm-hmm. I'm already emotional today. Steve, you set me off. Like, what you had to say, I resonated so deeply with that, and I was about to cry. But yes, emotions.
Which bit that Steve said? Which bit had the impact?
The friendships and the letting people in, because that's been a very hot topic in my mind for the past, I don't know, like 10 months.
I relate too. My men's group finished recently because we created it 8 years ago. We did lots of deep work together, and all of us are in a place now where we don't want that from that group anymore. Mm-hmm. I met up, some of you know Teo, my friend. Teo and I met at my house for a beer and watched a movie. And I said, you know what, Teo, I want this. I don't need deep men's work right now. I want this, hanging out, having a beer and having a chat. And he said, Rich, there's a name for this. You know, it's called friendship. And whilst I laughed, I'm not very good at creating it. I have to very consciously create it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Someone also asked today, I think, or yesterday in the Prosperous Coach group that we had, the Facebook group, they said, do you have to use metaphors in coaching, or some question like this? It's not that you have to use them, but you've got to listen for them. Mm-hmm. I heard you say that you have this glass ceiling that continually drops on you. Mm-hmm. That's interesting, because I get the idea of a glass ceiling that you butt your head against. It sounds like yours, it's not just that, it actually drops down on you. What's going on with that?
Yeah, it's so I'm a risk taker, that through and through. I believe in taking risks every day. I live in the zone of fear every day. I like to be outside my comfort zone every day, meaning I push myself all the time. And not because of this, as I do this, I feel like the more that I have been doing this, because that has been amplifying over the last year and a half, the more it feels like this glass ceiling is dropping versus like me coming up to meet it. And I don't know if it's actually dropping, or if my rate of acceleration with growth is just happening at such a high rate that it just feels as though the glass ceiling is dropping. I'm not sure what that is, but I am like, I'm done with it. I'm done with it. And I want to really conquer that feeling once and for all, so that I can be in that mindset that I love being in, versus dropping back into the states that I hate dropping into.
So tell me about them. What's the mindset you want to be in, and versus the state that you hate dropping into?
So I realized this year that there is some sort of unconscious self-sabotaging behavior happening here. And I've dug into this so much, which is why I'm so grateful to be here, to have someone else help me dig in. But it feels as, I feel like I'm an onion, right? You peel the onion and then you're like, oh shit, here's another layer. Oh shit, here's another layer. It's like the never ending onion. And the layers are like all these fears and beliefs and previous programming. And I feel like the higher that I move up, the deeper the trauma or the beliefs. And it becomes harder for me to work through those things versus like 5 years ago. It felt really easy to work through my beliefs 5 years ago. Whereas now it's feeling harder and harder, because these things that I'm now finding, the things that are now being uncovered are things that are so deeply ingrained or rooted that I don't even know what they are, nor do I know when I picked it up.
Yeah.
So it's frustrating.
It sounds to me, I'll bring you back to that distinction at the beginning, from intensity to immersion to mastery, that you're on the journey of mastery. Mm-hmm. That you're continually learning. I was working with a branding expert recently who was trying to draw out some of the themes to what I'm about. And she came up with this phrase. She talked about learning leaders. And as soon as she said it, it was like, oh my God, yeah. Like I've always loved to learn. That's just, I can't help myself. Like I can't stop learning and reading and wanting to grow myself. And that's just what I get about you in this moment. Like you just want to keep learning. And as you kind of go deeper, the roots of stuff goes deeper still.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and you would think that it would be the opposite, but it's not.
So I wonder, so I was working on something. So I wondered if this tool would come in today. I think it might. I have a tool that I've begun to use. It's from a guy called Dean Jackson. It's called I'm Successful When. The trouble is with success, we look at it in monetary terms. How much money am I making? Or how much impact have I made? Or how many homes do I have? We have all these kind of external metrics for success. But an I'm Successful When list looks at what actually would really make me, like, we never know how long we've got on this life, this time on Earth. What would really make me feel successful? In the moment I'm lying on my deathbed, hopefully at 100 years old, surrounded by loved ones. Mm-hmm. And so at the very top of my list, I was recreating this just last night. So I put, I don't take myself so seriously. And I'm hearing you and I wonder, like, what would happen if you added a little dose of that in the year ahead? A little dose of laughing at yourself, bringing a sense of humor in. I don't think you're ever going to stop wanting to immerse yourself and learn and grow. But what if you could smile with it? It sounds like there's a heaviness I feel as you're talking.
I feel like in my personal life, I have no problem making fun of myself, poking fun at myself. I laugh every day. But with my purpose, my mission, my business, the heaviness that you're sensing is my undeniable passion to seeing it through. And I understand that I am a passionate individual, and that passion can come across as quite heavy, but it also feels heavy to me because everything that I'm pursuing makes my life and everything that I've been through makes sense. And this is something and I know that's where the heaviness comes from, because I feel like if I don't complete this, then everything that happened was like, it didn't serve its full purpose.
I get it. The trouble is with something like that, an intention like that, is it's binary. Like, mm-hmm. It's not complete until it's complete. Mm-hmm. And if you bring this energy with it, you're going to have this heaviness all the way through until that day it is complete. Mm-hmm. And my sense is for you, this mission is a long-term mission. So
yeah, it won't ever feel complete because it'll continue to evolve.
So who would you be if you brought lightness and fun with you on that journey, as well as an undeniable passion to seeing it through?
I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is I'd be more me. Huh. That was the first thing that came to mind, was I would be more me. Which is interesting.
It is. So on that note, I'll take you off the hot seat. I'll come back to you in a minute. Mm-hmm. So Steve and Luke, I like to play this way sometimes when someone has an insight, especially in a group coaching session. The power of working with groups is it's really fun to be able to take someone off the hot seat. You can't do it so much in one-on-one coaching. You tend to stay with them and go deeper still. And it's actually fun. Like, I know I'm actually talking to Ruby, even though I told her I'm not talking to her right now. And she's sitting with this, and I'm trying not to look at her on the corner of my screen, knowing that stuff's happening in the inside right now. Thank you, by the way, Ruby. Hey, Luke.
Hey.
Hey, man. Thank you for your patience with me. I'm eating these cough sweets. I'm a bit sick, so I'm trying to stave off a coughing fit before the end of the call. What would you be telling me in a year's time that you said, this is, holy shit, Rich, it's been an amazing year?
Well, I would say, well, as you know, I am a magician and mentalist as well as a coach. And I see that the magic moments with both sides of it, I feel like they're two parallel businesses that really need to be one. So in December 2018, I'd be saying, holy shit, Rich, I finally combine them in a way to where it's just a way of being, as opposed to two different things I'm trying to balance. Instead of balancing two different plates, it's more almost kind of like the Willy Wonka character. It's just his natural way of being, and magic is created, just bizarre stuff. People know that when they hang out with him, they're going to get an experience. It's less work, but it's more impact.
I like it. I read Charlie and the Chocolate Factory to my little boys. So I know you're a magician and a mentalist. I don't tell anybody, guys, but I invited Luke to come on stage at the intensive in April to bring some of his magic into the room. And we've done that at a number of our intensives over the years. We've had magicians on stage. We've had an escape artist on stage. We've had a world-class juggler on stage. Because I love this idea that what looks like magic is so I did a course at the Magic Castle. It's a private members club for magicians here in LA. Always loved magic. And I went along to learn how to do magic. I thought it would be so cool. I'd learn. And we spent 10 weeks learning how to shuffle cards. And excuse my French, everybody, but it was fucking hard. I never really got in 10 weeks to shuffle cards well. And so but I learned one trick, and I showed Monique, my wife, and it blew her mind. She went, oh my God, that's amazing. And that afternoon, one of her friends came over, and she said, show the trick. And I showed her friend, but her friend knew the trick. And she went, oh, that's easy. I know how he did it. And Monique said, well, how did he do it? And she said, blah, blah, blah. And Monique went, oh, she was completely deflated. But that's magic. It only looks like magic. So yeah. I'm laughing because you're already going to be on stage making this happen in April. Like, you're going to say to me, holy shit, in April, if this is your vision of what will make an amazing year, at the very latest by April, if not by January of this year, that's going to be on its way. So what if, let's use Willy Wonka, right?
Okay.
he was the place you came from throughout the year. So for me, a goal isn't a place to get to, it's a place to come from. What if you channeled him in every moment, every conversation, every interaction?
So instead of having a resolution, more of like a theme, using him as like an identity theme.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, instantly I thought of, I'd be more curious as to where in life and in conversations and in interactions, I'll be finding magical moments. Not necessarily that I'm creating, but that other people are creating, but my awareness is different of it. So it's like I just have more of a peripheral vision as to where the magic is coming in from.
I love that. You know, I've realized one of my gifts is, so The Prosperous Coach is about how, the book that we wrote, Steve and I, is a book about how to build a successful practice as a coach, one conversation at a time. But I've realized what my gift is taking people who've had a very successful career already in any other arena and then helping them be a successful coach. And what I do is I help them bring that with them. Because most of the time if we're transitioning, like, I'm done with that. I was an accountant. I was a lawyer. I was in the tech world. I was a magician. Like, leave it behind. It's like, no, how do you bring that with you? Because it makes you unique in this world of coaching and it makes you very special. So I love this idea of coaching and magic, especially because the metaphor fits so well.
Yeah. Yeah. Because in the past I've seen it as like if I'm at a magic gig or, you know, I see it as I'm wearing the magic hat. Whereas like I see how they fit consciously, but it's more of an unconscious integration of the two. And I didn't think about coming from that and seeing how the world, using that as the filter.
Nice. So that's one of my favorite distinctions, how to create an extraordinary life, is the reason I say don't set goals. Goals are fine. Like setting a goal for a project or for some kind of time limited period is fine. But goals for a year or goals for your life, for me, I love this idea of impossible goals. What would be impossible to create? When it's literally impossible, you can't turn it into a 7-step plan, but you have it be the place that you come from. So I have an impossible goal I've been living into for 2 years now, that I have $1 million clients. I still don't have someone who's paid me $1 million. I have $100,000 clients, not $1 million clients. But I show up from that place of, like, this is the place I come from. I just had a flashback to being a high school teacher. From my first day in a high school working, so I was 24 years old, I would walk around the school and I'd pick up trash if I found it on the ground. And I wore suits. And the only person in the school who wore a suit was a head teacher. And I did it because it was just who I was, but I was being the person that I wanted to be down the road. It was just, I didn't know it then, but I was embodying a goal is a place to come from, not a place to get to. Mm. So here's my invitation to you. Let's play it out right now so that when you call me in a year's time, you say, holy shit, Rich, this year's been amazing. Magic was through everything. But I remember once I got the distinction of this being a place to come from, you said to me, bring it in the next few minutes. So as I'm talking to Steve and Ruby, keep your magician's hat on, because it will be really fascinating for us to have a magician looking at us and our worlds and hear what insights or distinctions he might have for us. If you're up for that.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. All right. Thank you. Hey, Steve.
Hey, Rich.
Hey, what have you got from that time I gave you for that piece of reflection?
Sure. The perfect system exercise.
Yeah.
So if you want to be I was thinking about how do you be not just a really good, like a world-class people pleaser, like, just Olympic caliber, if it was an Olympic sport. And I think one of the first things is you got to spend a lot of your energy trying to figure out what people are thinking about you. So it's really important you do that. You should spend, 50% of your social energy on that.
Yep.
And then you need to subtly support the person you're talking to, and you do that a lot by letting them talk as much as possible and just kind of reinforcing, picking the parts of the things that they say that you might agree with and taking the conversation in that direction, and not, definitely if there's something you don't agree with, don't go there. If you want to be a world-class people pleaser, you can't live in that space. You got to stay away from that, even if it's at what you actually believe, or in some cases, especially if it's what you actually believe. Nice. So that's a really important point there.
Do you guys get what mastery this man has in people pleasing? Like this is a world-class seminar. Like you pay attention, right? Because if you want to learn how to people please, Steve has got it down.
Yeah, I mean, this has been a great exercise because I'm noticing all the subtle things. That there's so much, social interactions are so complicated and they're so nuanced. And then as I'm going through it, it's like, oh my gosh, there's all this energy going out to figure out what the person is thinking, and all this energy finding ways to be in alignment with them, even when you're not. And then all this energy to keep yourself, away, or keep the conversation, or not ask the question that you really want to ask, or not say the thing that you really want to share.
So let me pause you for a second, because it would be fascinating to have you map this whole thing out. Yep. And it is an exercise you can do if you like, and post it if you're up for it in the Prosperous Coach Facebook group, and I'll play with you there. But for the sake of time, let's pause you on that. Like you could get to master's level teaching us this. Mm-hmm. There's a book, by the way, somewhere on my shelf. What's it called? No More Mr. Nice Guy. Have you ever read that book?
I've heard of it, but I haven't read it. No.
It's excruciating, because I have some of that people pleaser in there. So worth having a look at No More Mr. Nice Guy. What's the gift for you in this? What do you get out of this? Because if it was really bad for you, you'd have let it go. Like, it drains a lot of your energy. You just shared that. But I know there are so many benefits in here. That's why at this moment in time, throughout an entire life of doing this, despite being drained of all this energy, you're still playing out in this way. Give me one or two benefits you see.
So one of the big benefits of being a people pleaser is that you can reconcile other people's points of view. So if you're organizing people together, because you're able to kind of empathize and channel your empathy to both sides of a discussion, you can actually bridge differences. And I do that a lot. Like when I manage teams and creative teams, I can help people navigate those things. So that's a really
so nice let me draw this out, right? You are, because I know this, you're a very successful entrepreneur, run and manage lots of teams over your time. There are lots of leaders who don't know how to do that, and they struggle. They complain about their teams all the time. You have these skills of understanding different people's points of view, because you spent a lifetime mastering it in order to people please. But it turns out there's a gift to it, and it's really helped you. So this is why I'm cautious. You notice I could have, many coaches would have jumped in 20 minutes back and like, let's get rid of this thing that's holding you back, stop you being a people pleaser. Well, we don't want to mess up the gifts in it. We're going to draw them out so you don't lose the gifts, and you can let go of the things that you don't need anymore. Give me one more gift.
One more gift that people pleasing gives you. It makes you kind of politic. So I had a startup. It got bought by a bigger company, which then got acquired by a private equity company. And so I went from a small team to, kind of classic corporate politics. And so because I could see how everybody was viewing, what everybody's agendas were, and it helped me be more politic. And I used to think of that as playing politics. Now I just think no, that's just navigating a situation.
It's an art and a skill. You can sense what's going on even before it's said out loud. You can listen beneath the words. By the way, it has dawned on me that a lot of these skills make you an amazing coach. So there's real power in this. Knowing your perfect system allows, so what I used to do with this, I get someone to map out their perfect system, and then for every little element of it, we'd say, well, what's the flip side? How could you what's the opposite of each one of these? And we could handle it. I've found out now that actually all I need to do is help someone map out their perfect system. And that's it. Because just the knowing of it with this overlay of a sense of humor that we can laugh at ourselves, it shifts, it begins to melt away. And we'll talk a week, a month, a year later, and they'll say, oh my God, I still see it. It comes up, but I catch it now because I know this is me. And actually so much of it has melted away, but I've held on to where the gifts are.
Yeah, that's nice. No, it's a good way to break it down so you can piece out the stuff because there's nothing 100% wrong about almost anything, right? Yep. There's benefit and gifts in there. So that's a nice way to frame.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you for playing with it.
Yeah.
Let's do this, because what I see is that each of you are on this journey to mastery, right? Ruby, you never stop learning this in what did you call it? This undeniable passion to see it through. And there's ways that passion are holding you back right now. Actually, it's interesting. I'm catching myself doing this. And I had this thought of the glass ceiling as I was doing that. But the very thing that's causing the passion is there's a limitation in there. Let me bring this back to, I said I'd talk about this for a moment or two, the intensive we're having in April. Because some of you watching are going to be with us and want to speak to what's there. And some of you who haven't been to an intensive want to briefly speak about it. I want to come back to each of you and take our coaching a little bit deeper. So it dawned on me this morning, talking to Danielle, we realized that some of the people in our community are so new that they don't even know what an intensive is and why we call it an intensive. So we run 3.5-day events, and we put a group of extraordinary people in a room together. And so I'm an introvert by nature. It doesn't mean I'm shy, but it does mean being around a lot of people can drain me of energy. So I set up my events to make sure that doesn't happen to anybody. That the moment you walk through the door, you're in a small group of people and you're led by one of the leaders of our community, a member of 4PC, my community of high-level coaches. So you're nurtured in a small group all the way through an event. And in these intensives, we focus on leadership in really 3 different ways. Leadership in creating clients. How do you create your clients? We've wrote a book on this, Steve and I. You don't have to come and spend time with us to learn this. But if you want to have it be in your blood, then spend time with us and other coaches who are doing this day in, day out to build their practice. Leadership in creating clients. Leadership in coaching. And I'm doing it today. There are moments when I'm leading and there's moments when I'm following you. And the art of leadership is knowing when to lead and when to follow. It's a dance. It literally is like dancing. You have to know when it's time to look like the leader and time when to hold back and have the magic happen through you rather than because of you. And finally, leadership in building your business. Those are the 3 elements. But also, if you want to be a coach with high-performing, high-fee clients, then you have to know how to work with leaders. And you have to know how to work with people who are more successful than you, more powerful than you, more intelligent than you, people who've done extraordinary things that you haven't. And I'm doing it right now. I'm working with 3 people who I have a lot of admiration for all sorts of things you guys have done in your life. So if you'd like to join us at the intensive, there is a web page, richletvin.com/intensive. Very easy. Here's some of the logistics. And let me tell you what I mean by logistics. When you're a coach and you get to that moment when somebody says, how do I work with you? One of the first things I teach coaches is you need a menu. Because sometimes we get caught in our head, what am I going to say the price is and what do I offer? And sometimes it's good to have, these are my notes from today, but what's on your menu? So the waiter doesn't come up to you, you say, well, what can I eat today? They don't say, well, I got a bit of low self-esteem today, so I'm not sure I should offer you the steak and the champagne, but you could have a burger and fries. So here's my menu. There's the price for the intensive currently is $13.97. And that's what my team call the early bird price. And there's 20 tickets left. When those 20 tickets are gone, it goes up to the next level up of the price, and that's $15.97. So if you want to get a ticket, there's 20 left at this price, and it goes up. And I'm just reading my notes here. If you buy your ticket by the end of the year, by December the 31st, what we will gift to you is 3 accelerator calls. There'll be a call in January, there'll be a call in February, and a call in March with a member of my team who's going to set you up for success at the event. And then after the event, you can jump straight into the 90-day money game. So for 90 days after the event, we're going to work with you too in our private Facebook group, helping you to build your practice. So literally, if you've signed up before the end of the year, from January all the way through to July, you get to play with us. This is no longer a 3.5-day intensive. This is a 7-month experience if you really want to play with us. And by the way, because this is a new idea we had about the accelerator calls, if you already paid for your ticket, they're on your way to you anyway. You're gonna get those. So that's it. Come and join us. We'd love to have you play with us. We have a community of really extraordinary people who come and play with us. We've had people who come back year after year after year. And over time, we're getting more and more new people in our world. So come and play with us. Come and dive deep in this theme on leadership, creating clients, working with high-performing, high-fee clients, and building your own internal leadership. richletvin.com/intensive. So that's the end of my menu. So let me dive back in with each of you guys. That's the purpose of this call, is to really see how do we set up for a really powerful year in 2018. Ruby, let me come back to you, because I was really impacted by this thought of I get the metaphor of a glass ceiling, and I get where for women in particular it can be really an intense way of experiencing life. But yours has something that it does that made it feel even more intense. So tell me what's going on. How can I support you?
Well, I honestly believe it's because I am accelerating at such a fast rate that it just feels like I'm hitting it a lot quicker and more often. I always say to myself, like, it feels like my spiritual self is like, oh yeah, here are all the things you're supposed to be doing, and you're finally doing it, and all these opportunities are coming your way. But my physical human self is like, hold up a second. We need to catch up. And that's the dilemma that I feel like I've been experiencing, especially in this, let's say the last 5 months of this year.
I had this image of you or me driving a car really fast, and the faster I get, the lampposts seem to fly past the window really fast. And it felt like these are the glass ceilings. You just hit them faster and faster. You've got momentum. You're really moving. So over here, I heard it as, oh, that's rather cool. Like I get it feels intense over there. I'm not you, but over here watching, it's like, oh, cool. That's a clue for me that you're really accelerating in your growth. Now, so there's two ways that you could handle this. One is to slow down your acceleration. And the other is to find a way to, whether it's bringing a sense of humor, like I mentioned earlier, or something else, so that you're okay. It becomes less of so I know when I used to drive crappier cars, as I would speed up, it felt really scary going fast. But as I got to drive nicer and nicer cars, I could drive in a fast car at a really high speed, and it didn't feel like I was driving fast.
Yeah, and I'm all about nice cars, just FYI. So I did think about the question, how can I bring more lightness into what I do, like my work? And a few things came to me. The first thing, which I've been actively working on for the past 5 months, is focus on doing the things that excite me and working with people who excite me only. And I've been actively working on that. I call it my Shiva destruction mode. I've been in destruction mode, just destroying my entire business and letting go of things and really just holding on to the things that excite me. But the other thing...
Can I pause you down? Can you mark the second thought?
Yes.
I love that. That takes us back to the 80-20 rule, which is how we started this conversation. For those of you who are late, richliving.com/review will take you to the questions that I use. But the 80-20 rule, what are the 20% of things that you do that make you feel alive? Who are the 20% of people you spend time with in business and in your personal life who make you thrive and feel alive? What are the 20% of activities you have that drain you of energy? And how can you remove them from your life? The 20% of activities that take up 80% of your energy. I joked earlier with Steve and Luke because I saw the answers to the questions they wrote prior to this. Email drains me of energy. So I gave my team a challenge a week ago. I said, I don't want to answer email next year. Solve that problem, guys. How do I build a business and a life where I don't have to be on email? And they're working on it for me. I want to communicate with people. I'm not saying I don't want to sit in a room in silence. But I want to find a way that I can do it that energizes me. Whether that means they filter some stuff, or they tell me, here's a message from so-and-so, and I can record a video message back, or I don't know what the answer will be. But I'm interested to see how that plays out for you. That you call it Shiva destruction mode. I could see how that. How do I say this piece? I might be wrong, but I heard it with almost like a sense of guilt, or that was a bad thing. And over here, I think that's amazing that you're bringing Shiva destruction mode, because by letting go of this, it's going to free you up for that.
Yeah, the guilt comes from the people pleasing. Hey, Steve. The letting go of the clients that aren't really fully aligned. and letting go of my need to help everyone. I don't have to, I've got enough free content out there to help people that I don't need to spend that energy in my one-on-one space with clients.
And let me tell you a secret. Those clients who you think you want to work with, like they're not really your people, but you're serving them because you feel guilty about not saying no to them, is about saying no to them. You're being selfish because there is an ideal coach out for them. Their dream coach is out there, and you're not setting them free.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Yeah.
Let me ask Willy Wonka for his take on this, because he's a magician apparently.
Yeah, what you just said, I that need, like, even though they're not your ideal client, you're still kind of feeling like you got to do something, and that there's a lot of power in that saying no. And one of the things I thought of over the past few minutes is not so much what magic is to the coach, but what it is for the person sitting in front of them. You want something for them, not from them. So to me, that's it might not be magic, like when Rich said, his wife's friend knew the trick. It wasn't magic to her, but to his wife, it was like incredible. So what might not be magic to us might be mind-blowing to them. And if they get that mind-bending moment in your other material and it's not you working with them personally, that could be more than enough for them.
Thank you for that.
Ruby, there's a sweetness and a lightness to you in this moment. What's going on?
I think it was just like realizing that I do have a lot of good shit out there that's free and available. And it's very easy to, at this point with where I'm at as a coach and a human, to look at that stuff and say, oh, that's too basic. But yet it's like eons away for someone who's maybe just eons away from being there. So for them, that is, like Luke said, a mind-bending moment to watch maybe that one YouTube video that I created 4 years ago, or the article that I published 3 years ago. So not to underestimate the power of what I've already put out into the universe for free, and taking that pressure off myself to have to help everyone, because I kind of am already doing that, and it's okay. I'm just doing it in different ways. And my one-on-one, who I bring into my inner circle, I can be more selective about those people, because I know for myself, I am the best possible coach when I am working with the most aligned clients, because they excite me. I'm passionate about their dreams and widely supportive about helping them and making it happen. So something comes out of me, a magic comes out of me when the right client is in front of me. So I guess I'm a magician.
You are. We all are. Look, just imagine how much more alive you're going to be. Here's the thing. When you start speaking to your dream clients, you're going to be polarizing. You're going to upset some people who don't fit into that criteria of who you love to work with. But if you're not polarizing, you're saying yes to everybody. And you heard from our master at people pleasing how much that drains you of energy. And I speak as that myself, so I'm only doing it tongue in cheek, Steve. But the moment you start speaking to your people, you will have some people will be upset that it doesn't resonate for them and you're not speaking to them. And that's okay, because there is a way that you can speak and coach and teach in the world, Ruby, that is precisely honed for your people. And if you don't do that, you're really watering yourself down and doesn't serve anybody, and it drains you of energy.
Yeah. And that's how I was feeling this year, actually. So I'm excited for 2018. I'm excited at the fact that I got rid of, 80% of my clients this year. I'm excited that I get to start somewhat from scratch and bring to life the vision that I've always seen for my business next year, rather than doing what everyone else is doing. And I'm really good at being polarizing. So
Yeah.
yay for more of that.
Yeah, I just doing what everyone else is doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, everyone else is doing that. It's out. Nobody needs more stuff, the same stuff about coaching. It's just we don't need it. Like, bring something unique. Bring something that irritates people and upsets them and pisses them off, because they're not your people.
Right.
But the ones who are going to stay with you.
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it. So let me transition now to Steve. Steve, what's the biggest insight you've got from the conversation today?
Oh, wow. There was a few. I mean, the one that that just came from how Ruby was describing some of the things that she's going through is that there's a consistent theme in that we tend to take for granted our own magic, because it's like our clothes. We inhabit it. It's there all the time. We don't see anything different or unique or special about it. It's just what we have, and yet it has the potential to have such impact on people.
Yeah.
And I think that's something, when I think about, the people pleasing, like, where's the magic in there, right? There is some magic in there, and in being able to understand people and being able to help people bridge differences and use that, for the good of things. And, be careful about, pay attention to where it's having negative consequences.
I think that's going to be a game changer for you. Like, we're not throwing it all out. You get to have discernment now. It's like, oh yeah, this is valuable. I want this. This makes me an extraordinary leader. I don't need this anymore. I totally get it. I'm a really good leader at building culture in my team. We have a team who talk about, we've got your back. That phrase came from the members of my team, for each other and for me. And I love that. I'm not the accountability guy. I'm not good at that. It's not my strength, but I have enough awareness to see it. So I look at what can I bring in to help bring that into my business. So when you have, self-awareness is the first key of leadership. And I see it in you, and you just got the next level. Like you said, Ruby, right? Layers of an onion, it never stops. Thank you, Steve. Thanks for playing today.
Yeah, thank you, Rich.
How about you, Ruby? What's the biggest insight, biggest takeaway for today?
Lighten the fuck up. Oh, can I say that? I can say that.
Just did. Yeah.
Lighten the fuck up. I mean, I think that I get really wrapped up in, I know that I get really wrapped up in taking a lot of this so seriously when, and I wrote this down, actually. I wrote down, focus on enjoying the present journey versus like always just trying to achieve the end vision. That's where I feel like that intensity comes from. Yeah. And I miss out on like all the good that's happening right now. And like, shit, I've accomplished a lot this year. Like, I've destroyed a lot, but I have accomplished a lot this year. So
Ruby, what I'd like you to do, and all of you guys listening and watching, and you guys too, the problem with being entrepreneurs and creators and creatives is that we're forward focused, we're future focused. So anytime we achieve a goal, if you're anything like me, you give yourself about 20 seconds to acknowledge yourself for it before you're looking, I should have done it this way, could have done it better, I could have improved it, how could I do it, what am I doing next? So it's really worth taking a moment before the year is over, each of you, to grab a piece of paper and write down, what am I proud of about this year? What am I proud of in business? What am I proud of in my personal life? Even for 3 minutes, you will leave the year with a sense of happiness and accomplishment and pride. And we forget to do that because we're such future-based thinkers. Yeah. Thank you, Ruby.
Thank you.
How about you, Luke? Oh, actually, you know what? I just remembered Willy Wonka. I want to come back to Ruby for a second. The sense of humor. About 10 years ago, I did one of my first coaching courses, and we had to create an archetype of the character who we hated the most. Like this, I would never want to be thought of in this way. And for me, it was, what's the movie? The British guy, Austin Powers. That's it. Like, oh my God! If like I like to look good. I want you to admire me. I want you to like me. So if you looked at me and saw Austin Powers, the British guy with bad teeth who thinks he's good with women, who is actually terrible, I would be mortified. And so for a year, I put a picture of Austin Powers on the desktop of my computer. And when I was coaching, I would have him with me. So like, what would Austin Powers say now? Because I would go to the instant, like, let me go deep, let me do this. And Austin Powers would laugh. He'd joke. He'd say something ridiculous. And I brought him into my world, not so I could become Austin Powers, but so I could let go of the stuff where I was attached to being too tight. And I had that vision for you. I don't know who it would be for you, but there's a character like that for you that it'd be like, oh my God, that's just too much. But she would embody such a sense of fun and humor that a little bit more of her in your world with everything, not letting go of anything, the gifts you have already, could be a real impact for you.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Thank you.
Cool. I look forward to hearing who that's going to be. So we're almost finished, guys. We're just running 5 minutes late. Hey, Luke, what about you? What's your biggest insight from today?
Well, I think one of the biggest insights that I got from today was and I thought of it as you were talking to them after the Willy Wonka thing came out. When he's walking through the factory and they go through that small door and it's like the big chocolate river and all that stuff, he like lives there. So he has seen that over and over, and it's like nothing to him. It's something he created. But to everyone else around him, it is the craziest thing they've ever seen. And going back to Ruby, and even for you, I've watched some of your videos in the past couple of months. I'm like, this is amazing. Then I look at the date and it's like from 2013 or something. I'm like, oh, well, I mean, it's still relevant and it's what I needed in the moment. So thinking of what would be magical for the people I connect with and what would magical for me, kicking that aside, making it about, because sometimes, like even at the Magic Castle, there's people who do the linking rings and the cups and balls. And honestly, I just hate those tricks because I know that's not my persona and I just don't do those. But everyone at the castle does them and it works for other people. And there's a reason they're a classic. So having it more about them and creating the magic in their world and what their needs are versus what mine are. Because what is magical to me might not nearly be the same to them.
So what I love about what you just shared is I was like 95% with you. There was a little piece where you talked about some of the magic tricks. So I kind of knew them, but I wasn't. But what I loved is that I didn't have to. I got that you've already taken on this idea of coming from being a magician. We don't. So now you have to revisit the holy shit, Rich question, because we just handled it in less than an hour. Like your vision was like, you'd be saying this in a year's time. You're already coming from that place. You're already looking at the world through the frame of magic and seeing it and playing it out. Like, then you're not going to stop now. You're going to be on stage at the intensive in April. Like, I can't wait to see what you bring, the insights and how you bring the magic and the coaching together. So now you get to go away with that same question. If we sat down in a year's time and you said, holy shit, Rich, like I thought that was the holy shit, but you took me there.
Apparently not. Yeah.
This is the place to come from, not the place to get to. Then I can't wait to hear what that answer is going to be.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So thank you to each of you who's played with me, Steve, Ruby, and Luke. I really appreciate you. If we don't get cut off in a moment, then I'll thank you personally if you're able to stay on this call when Sarah finishes the call. But if we do get cut off, I love you. I'll see you in the new year. Thank you so much for really being willing to play full out with me. For those of you who've been watching, this is what we do. We love to play. I love to coach. What Luke's talking about is what I call zone of genius. And I realized, Luke, my zone of genius is 3 things. And Ruby, I have to cut out everything that's not these. Someone else has to do it or I don't do it at all. It's coaching, creating, and connecting. Coaching, I love this. Creating, I'm making stuff up. Connecting, it's been my one-line business plan for 12 years, meet fun and interesting people. And apparently put a bit of friendship in on the mix as well, and it makes my life even more fun. So I love your Shiva destructive energy. It's what I'm bringing in so that I'm only allowed to do those 3 things. And I'll be doing them in the intensive. Before we go, just the link again, richlitvin.com/intensive. I'll see you guys very, very soon. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.